Good morning, everybody. I should have been here last night. Unfortunately, yesterday was AstraZeneca day for me, and I felt really rather tired last night. I went to bed extremely early and forgot about my appointment with you all. So I'm doing it now. As you can see, the sun is shining, it's gorgeous, and it's the Feast of St. Joseph. We've just got to this bit where Jesus is on the cross, verse 33, and it says, "When the sixth hour came, there was darkness over the whole land until the ninth hour." This phrase, darkness over the earth, darkness over the whole land, is a very eloquent phrase. What does it mean? Well, if you remember, the ancient Egyptians were plunged into darkness. It was one of the seven plagues of Egypt. So a sign of divine displeasure, I think, is the first thing we have to bear in mind. The other thing is the people that lived in darkness have seen a great light, we're told from Isaiah, and that's also quoted in the Gospel. In other words, the darkness of error, the darkness of ignorance, the darkness of evil. Darkness is just sort of the triumph of evil, I suppose. And so Jesus is on the cross. Jesus has been defeated. Jesus has been crucified. The darkness over the earth symbolizes that this is the hour of the enemy. This is the hour of the devil. This is the hour of everything that is opposed to God. When Pius XII wrote his first encyclical in 1939, 1940, I think it was, it's actually in Latin called Summi Pontificatus, but it's in English it's known as Darkness Over the Earth. In it, Pius XII pointed out that the situation in Europe and the world was a very bad situation. He talked about communism and Nazism and the alliance between the two, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. The Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, why on earth am I talking about this? Well, was, of course, the Nazis and the communists had been terrible enemies, but they'd ganged up against innocent Poland and invaded Poland and partitioned Poland and committed great atrocities there. And this really did seem to all good Catholics, naturally, who sympathise with Poland, it seemed to all good Catholics as the sign of the triumph of evil. And of course, it was to be 5 long years before the evil was to be defeated. And even then, in fact, it was not to be defeated because Stalin remained in power after the Second World War. Darkness over the earth. Right now, beautiful sunny day, darkness over the earth certainly could sum up our present situation. The coronavirus is not evil. The coronavirus is morally neutral. The coronavirus is something natural. There have always been viruses. But our reaction to the coronavirus, the depression that the coronavirus has brought, and I mean to our minds, not just to the economy, this is a sign of darkness over the earth. One of the things is this is the darkest hour between 12 noon and 3 o'clock on Good Friday. The light will come at dawn on Easter Sunday. But of course, when you're sitting in the most terrible darkness, the idea that the light is going to come at some future date may not seem particularly credible. You may feel that the darkness is the only reality and that you've almost lost faith in God. And this is something that the apostles have already run away, with the exception of St. John. Although St. John is not mentioned here, the apostles have run away. They've lost faith in Jesus. They've lost faith in God. And we too, at very, very dark moments, can lose faith in God or feel that our faith is severely tested or feel possibly that our faith is useless to us. It's there, we believe, but we don't feel as though we believe. Our feelings tell us that our faith is defeated. But we'll see. And this is why at the 9th hour Jesus cried out in a loud voice, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani," my God, why have you forsaken me? So in other words, darkness over the face of the earth, and even, it seems, in the heart of Jesus is this terrible despair. In other words, this is usually explained by Jesus is feeling not sin, but the effects of sin on behalf of all mankind. We've all been cut off from God in the sense that we've all sinned. We've all felt what it is like to be separated from God. Now, one of the things is, just a little footnote, sometimes people say there was an eclipse of the sun at the crucifixion. That's not true because the eclipse of the sun would last about 2 or 3 minutes. Many of you will have seen, I've seen eclipse of the sun. It's not particularly impressive, I have to say. It's always hyped up as something really amazing, but it's not particularly impressive. Eclipse of the moon is rather more impressive, funnily enough, and it's also more frequent. It's also possible that this darkness, which really did happen because it's attested in all the Gospels, this darkness may well have been a storm in the desert, coming from the desert, blocking out the light of the sun, a sandstorm. Now, this does happen even today in the Middle East. It also happens, funnily enough, in China, where the sands of the Gobi Desert is whipped up, and sometimes you have sort of like this awful twilight in Beijing for sometimes days on end. I've been in a sandstorm, funnily enough, in the desert in Syria many years ago, and it's really unpleasant because it is darkness over the earth. It is everything becomes overcast, and it becomes very hard to. You become very disorientated. So it's quite possible there was a terrible sandstorm blowing in from the desert, which gave a sense of terrible dislocation to everybody. And I think that's important. When the Son of God is crucified, there is a sense of terrible dislocation. And we need to remember that something went terribly wrong with the world on Good Friday, and God put it right on Easter Sunday. That's enough for today. Well, no, I'll be back later tonight. This is yesterday's, if you see what I mean. All the very best. Bye.